Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome and Happy New Year. Board present to advise members of the audience that they may address the board regarding agenda items after the superintendent's report. Only those members whose names and addresses are listed on the sign-in sheet available prior to the start of the meeting will be recognized during new business. The chairperson will limit discussions of any item by the public to 3 minutes in order for the board to expeditiously conduct its business. Mr. Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, first I'd like to thank everybody. Wish you a very happy 2022. Look, a month ago, the challenges we were facing were much different. As much as, the Omicron variant was in South Africa, it hadn't necessarily hit us. But I do want to commend the faculty, the staff, the students, the administration, everybody that works here, and the parents and the community, because we have been faced with some challenges, and we've been able to work through them, or we're pushing through them. Again, nothing is easy. I got to watch that, and Mr. Rulin's going to be happy about this. Georgia won the national championship with a quarterback who was basically told he can't play. And his message to the kids across America was, life isn't easy all the time, but work hard and find good teammates, and you can grow up to be a champion. So I think, what's his name? Bennett Stetson? Yeah, I think that, don't know the young man personally, but he persevered through some tough times, and he was told multiple times he couldn't do it, and that's not a bad thing. So congratulations, Mr. Rulin. I know you're very happy about that victory. I'm going to go down a couple of things. I actually wrote them down tonight so I can make sure I stay focused. First up is midterms at the secondary level. I'm going to say this up front. Our teachers worked very hard to create these tests. The administration worked hard to schedule and support the teachers. The parents work very hard encouraging their children to study, and our students have been working hard learning and studying. But attendance has created a major issue for us. I shouldn't say an issue, a challenge. And look, we do sometimes have a tendency to, compare ourselves to our neighbors and other places and what other people know. But I have the highest regard, and I believe that the teams at both the middle school and high school, what we did, we said we postponed the midterms because you want to give your faculty and your administration a chance to work together to come up with a plan that fits and that works. There's no rush here. We said we're postponing them. And then, by Tuesday, I feel very comfortable that our building leaders, Mr. Bernard and Mr. Brennan, will be able to inform you as to where we're going. But, last week the challenge was to get the buildings open and keep them running. And again, I commend the administration and the staff in all our buildings for keeping them open and keeping our kids in school. Midterms are always open to debate in a good year. Some people believe one thing, others believe another. But I am extremely confident that by Tuesday, we'll be moving forward, all right? And I know that there's discussions going on in both buildings, and I'm anxious, and I'm confident that they will come up with a plan so our teachers can assess where our students are and assess their needs moving forward. Number two, the capital reserve. For those of you that don't remember, we created a capital reserve account back in 2016. This account was basically insurance against the bond failing. The capital reserve account is a place where we put money, and it can only be spent with public approval, okay? In 2016, we identified about $80 million of capital improvements that were needed. But when we went to the bond market for the bond to remain tax neutral, we were limited to borrowing approximately $60 million. We left $20 million worth of work on the table. But in May, we will be presenting a capital reserve project for voter approval. We have approximately $5.5 million sitting in an account that can only be spent with voter approval. It has to be spent on capital projects, just like the bond. You know, New York State does have an excellent system. They want school districts every 20 years to upgrade their facilities. You know, there was a certain amount of neglect here, but we're looking to right that. Details will be following in February, but right now what we're looking at is upgrades to support air conditioning in every classroom, completion of bathroom renovations, completion of the paving projects across the district, some further renovations in the theater music area at the high school. We're looking at the tennis courts at the middle school that are in need to be refurbished. But again, you know, that this is money that is sitting there in an account. It's taxpayer money, and we need voter approval, but we will have more details for you in February, and we're looking to put this up for a vote in May, the same night as the budget. So, but again, you know, the term capital reserve means that money can only be spent on capital projects. Budget season. You know, ladies and gentlemen, budget season is upon us. You know, budget season doesn't go away because of COVID. Over the next 3 months, we will be informing you of our spending plan that will focus heavily on the needs of our students within the walls of our schools. You know, again, we've taken care of the roofs and, you know, many of the bathrooms and things like that, but we're going to be looking at the other needs of our students. The bulk of our infrastructure and facilities needs have been completed or are being completed by the Capital Reserve. 2015, you know, we were committed to addressing approximately 20 years of neglect to our facilities. We've completed that. Now it's time to focus on where we want to be in 2025, 2030, and beyond. What do we want our classrooms to look like? How do we want to deliver instruction? Okay, and that needs to be supported by the budget. So if we're beginning to say to ourselves, you know, what do we want to look like? Because remember, you know, a couple of years ago, we sat here and said everybody's going to have a one-to-one device by 2025. They have them now. You know, what do we want to look like? And we have to reinvest in our school district. We cannot neglect the way we did, you know, previously. Which brings me to probably the last item on my, well, the second to last item on my list, the long-range planning. Everyone who applied for the long-range planning committee is on the long-range planning committee. We want these meetings, especially in the beginning, to be live. So the first meeting of the long-range planning committee is going to be March 8th. It's a Tuesday night. It'll be, you know, we'll be here, because we got the size of the room. And the charge of the committee is, again, in 2015, we said, what did we need and where did we want to be now? This committee is going to be looking at 2025 to 2030. You know, there's a tremendous amount of, I think, exciting things on the horizon. And that's what this committee is going to be charged with in terms of creating a roadmap to get us to where we want to be and how, and what do we want, and think about that in 2030, what is instruction going to look like? You know, I was going to talk a little bit about COVID, but I think that's going to come up in the old business. So, you know, again, I want to thank everyone. This has been a very challenging 2 weeks, but I'm extremely proud of, you know, all the employees in this district. I don't even want to break them out by unit. You know, we are facing, you know, a disease that is challenging, and it has not been easy. But our kids have been in school, and, you know, I've been in all the buildings. You know, the children are learning that in the face of adversity, you get up, go to work, and work through it. So I'm extremely proud of that. You know, are we perfect? No, but we'll strive to be. I read a great quote. I saw a great quote over vacation that, you know, perfection is not attainable, but if you chase perfection, you can get to excellence. And I would like to think that that's what, You know, that's one of the bedrock tenets of the East Islip community. You know, you're never going to be perfect, but chase perfection, and you can capture excellence. So I'll turn it back over to our president, Mr. Zachary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. Okay, any public comments on agenda items only? Yes, sir.
Hi, I was looking to clarify what's going on for consent agenda items 1.6, the abolition of a series of health and safety policies, and 8.7, with regard to the ethics policy. It was pretty unclear on the agenda what's going on with those.
The safety policy information is incorporated into policy, give me 1 second. Policy 8130. So it's all encompassing now of all those items, in particular regarding safety.
Thank you.
8.7, it's just, we had to tweak the language in it. It goes towards a resolution that we approved back in like May or June, that there was some collective bargaining issues with, some of the language in there. So we just had to tweak it to remove just some language.
Thanks.
Okay, be resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, recommends the Board of Education approves the consent agenda items 8.2 through 818 in accordance with the action presented for each item. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Anybody want anything removed? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business. Yes. Oh, the person, where are the personnel?
6.
It's not on here.
6.
I skipped it. I moved down because Mr. Zuzman's questions, and I skipped over. Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the non-certified personnel attachments. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the certified personnel attachments. Can I get a motion? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Now, down to old business. Anybody have any old business?
Just wanted to, know where we're at with our imagined request for mass option.
Well,
If the governor was here, she could give you a better answer, but Mr. Dolan will try, I'm sure.
well, I think, and we've had a lot of discussion about this, and it is, and again, I like this analogy, you don't, you plan to fix a leaky roof on a sunny day, not a rainy day. We are hopefully in the beginning of a downturn of, the positivity rate. And I think there's been a tremendous amount of discussion, and I do believe that, we've seen this virus with its ups and its downs, but I think by the February meeting, if the positivity rate is moving in the correct direction, I think we have to then, last summer, we were mask optional. And I think it worked very well. It went very well.
Mass option in summer school?
Yes. And I think what we have to do is be prepared to make a statement and we will be respectful about it. And, we started to move in that direction and we did get our wrist slapped. We're starting to see other municipalities move in this direction. I've said this, there is no graceful way to get out of a pandemic, but we do need to start to move forward. And when, we will watch this, collectively, we can identify a number. And then I think we should very publicly make the statement that when we reach that goal, when we reach that number where the positivity rate is down and we're not seeing the absences and the infections, I think it's time for us to push forward and make the statement that, as a district, we will be mask optional. Now, the state has the option to come in and tell us otherwise, but it's not fair that they continue to move the goalposts on us, and they continue to move the goal. And if my firm belief is, if we have a common goal for the entire community to work towards, and we won't find one that's going to make everybody happy. But let's just pick a number, throw a number out there. If we're below 5% or 3% or 2%, and everybody knew that, we may be a little more cautious, and because we really do. Look, I've said it. The federal, the state, and the local governments have been trying their best, but they've given us conflicting advice, mandates, whatever you want to call it. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have bastardized information to fit their own political agendas. Our only agenda is to have students in school safely learning together. We're not seeing a positivity rate in our testing, and we've given out, we supplied a lot of tests Sunday. We're going to have another pop-up store in the near future. We've been handing the tests out at the schools. We're stressing those tests are for symptomatic people. Schools are safe, and kids need to be in school. And we need to, we're trying to be sensitive to both sides of this, but I do believe if the numbers continue, and they've started to come down, if they continue to come down by the February board meeting, I think we should be prepared to make a statement that when we reach a certain target number, we're going to go mask optional, and then let New York State respond to us.
I disagree. I agree with the conflicting idea, but I just feel like the advice has been wrong time and time again.
Wait, do you agree with my idea or the advice?
No, I agree that it's been conflicting, but I also believe that their advice has been wrong time and again. In March 2020, they told us we had to shut down for 15 days. Then we shut down for the entire school year. Then we came back in September and we had to be 6 feet apart. That was thrown out the window. At that same time, we had to have masks on the playground. Those were all thrown out. We were cleaning doorknobs. We don't do that anymore. We were hybrid. Then we were all back with barriers that we paid for that didn't work. Then the barriers came down. Now everyone has to wear masks. We had 10-day quarantines. Now they're 5-day quarantines. And now they're telling everybody who's still wearing a mask that all your cloth masks don't work and you got to wear N95s. And soon they might be mandating the kids are wearing N95s. So it's not only conflicting, it's been wrong time and time again. So I would hope that we'll come to our senses in the near future.
I think giving us all a common goal to work towards, and we've been saying this now for a while, and again, right now...
Well, when you say common goal to work for, what you're really saying is winter, right? There is no... We can't work for anything. What could we do as human beings to get to that number?
Practice smart, safe, healthy habits, and again, I know you have an issue with the masks because we wore masks and it's just going back and up, up and down, but just, be healthy, don't come, when you're sick, don't go to school. We have tests available.
Why not just do that? Why not just do that? If you're sick, don't come to school.
I think that, I mean, Bill, and you know how much I respect you, but there are two sides to this.
Yeah, but the one side has been wrong time and again. Like, when do you say, okay, you know what, we're not going to listen to that side anymore?
Well, no, I think what
I mean,
we're,
if this was your doctor, you'd switch your doctor.
well,
If this was your landscaper, you'd switch your landscaper. My
I,
point is, they've been wrong time and again, and we still are saying, okay, we have to be courteous to the ones who have been wrong time and again.
no, I mean, I think it's good to be courteous to everybody, and I
I
think,
agree, I'm very
I
courteous.
think that, I really, really believe, and I like a common goal for everybody to work towards. I would like to be told what the end game is, and I think we can push respectfully for that end game. And again, we're gonna have a meeting in a couple of weeks, and I think let's watch the trend. Let's see what direction it's going. It's gonna be helpful, as the weather turns better. But, if we have hope that when the weather turns better and, the windows are open and we can actually be mask optional, I think that would be a relief to a lot of people, not everybody. Okay, but it would be a relief to a lot of people. It might not be enough for you, and it might be.
No, I'm all for a mask option.
Well,
Matter of fact, I was all for masks, if you remember. I was all for masks.
Hater.
Yeah, in the beginning, to get the kids in school. But now it's time to get the masks off the kids. Enough's enough.
Well, I think it's not, I wouldn't want to.
I'm not going to argue with. I'm not arguing with you about it. I know. I'm just saying. I just feel like we're bending over backwards to do something that we've found is just not working. And I just.
No, I mean,
And then when you said something about the end game, when the governor comes out with her end game, that just proves that they don't work, right? Because there is no end game now at this point. They're just going to take them off and say, okay, take them off.
well, the governor did allude the other day, and again, if we can encourage, our elected officials, because at some point, we have to get back to normal. And I don't want to be reckless. Let's watch these numbers and let's see where these numbers go. And then let's, I think we can come back in February, and hopefully that's, 3 weeks away. We can make a definitive statement. And if things are still, if it's still above 20%, then we're going to say, well, we're going to come back in March and make a definitive statement. But if the number's down in the single digits and it's plummeting, I think everybody's going to be happy. So let's, but we I don't want to just, we have to give everyone hope that we're going to get there and we're going to do it. I think the key is we have these conversations, we go back and forth, and we do it responsibly, okay? And I don't want to, I'm not going to jump too far to the extreme sides. I think that I think that number is going to come clear to us over the next few weeks and what people are comfortable with. And by having these conversations, people will contact my office, they'll email you. I'm constantly asking people what would they be comfortable with, and a large majority of people are falling into a range. So, I'm going to continue to listen.
This range is kind of fictitious, no? Because it's not up to us what the range is or when we could go mask optional. It really comes down to one person, and the governor makes that decision.
Well, and again,
That's what ranges we'd be comfortable with, really.
no, we let her know. Part of the democratic process is we'll let the governor know what we're comfortable with. There are no guarantees. I hate to say it, but when, to me, I always said this, and I remember when I was a principal, I felt responsible from the time the kid walked out the door, not when they got on the bus, but when they walked out the door till they walked back in. Somehow, as principal, I was responsible for everybody's health and safety. There are no guarantees. Things happen, life, but I think we can be cautious. I think we can be responsible, but I also think we can, in some ways, take a leadership role. And what we're saying is, if you're listening, Governor Hochul, we're seeing, and maybe this, this high positivity rate, I'm hoping this was the darkness before the dawn, but we are seeing, as we dig deeper into the numbers, COVID is not the only enemy. There are underlying conditions. And COVID seems to be becoming more and more like the flu. And, a lot of people die from the flu every year, and I'm not making light of that. It's just, we want to return to normal, and we can't return to normal by being reckless or being passive. We have to take, I think, intelligent steps and identifying a target number where we believe it would be safe. And again, if the Department of Health tells us we can't do it, well, that's what they're there for. But if the Department of Health says, hey, East Islip is going about it in a sensible and rational way, I would be kind of proud of that, to tell you the truth. So we're just going to keep moving forward. But I think by the, in the February meeting, hopefully this number is down. Hopefully our attendance is better. And hopefully we can begin to start to say, hey, when we get to a certain number, we can be mask optional.
Can we just agree, though, that having everyone, like you said before, that you don't want to pander to either extreme, right?
I don't know if I said pander. I just
Well, you don't want to, what?
get
You don't want
bullied
to,
by them.
what, you know what?
I don't want to get bullied by them.
Right, you don't want to go to one side or the other, right? I'm trying to understand what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, there are people that don't want to wear a mask now, and there are people that never want to take the mask off. And
Okay, all right, that's what I thought, all right.
so
I don't think my,
and I think
I don't
the
think my
answer-
position is extreme.
oh no, I wasn't calling
Okay,
you extreme.
All right, I just want to make sure.
Well, maybe call you.
I feel like the position of the mask optional is the least extreme. It's right in the middle. Right? It's letting parents decide for themselves what they want to do with their own kids, as opposed to someone else telling them what to do with their kid. That's why it's not extreme. That's what I've been trying to say for the last month and months and months, is that the idea that parents should choose. That's not an extreme position. Extreme position is telling someone else how their child should, what their child should wear on their face, or telling somebody they have to take it off. If you want your kid to wear a mask, wear a mask. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with anyone wearing a mask. I have no problem with anyone wearing a mask. I just have a problem with other people telling other people that they have to mask their own kid.
I think the purpose of that is to keep other kids safe. Right?
And I think when
I don't know what the purpose is.
I hate to say it,
You
but
have a mask on, and someone else doesn't have a mask, and the mask doesn't work because you're not safe because someone else doesn't have the mask on? I don't get it.
There's a great article in Newsday on that yesterday, as far as the one kid, if one kid's not wearing a mask and 5 others around him are, that one kid has it and coughs, sneezes, it could go up to like 9 feet. And even the kids with the mask then could be exposed by touching whatever it may be.
I think it's proving my point, not the opposite. All right, I'm good. I know we're done.
Any other?
I love the conversation. I'm fine with it.
and honestly, these
Getting
conversations,
so used to losing, it's sick.
you're not losing.
I'm losing.
And no, the only winner was Mr. Rulon because Georgia won. But these conversations are good, especially when we have them in this kind of tone, because the public will react. The public will send emails, texts, phone calls, and we will listen to what they're saying. And all we're saying, and I think that all we want is to find a way to make as many people as possible comfortable, safe, and healthy. And, again, the fact that we can have a conversation like this, I think, is good, because the folks out there who are listening now have a chance. They'll be able, like I said, they'll be able to write to us and tell us how they feel. They want to tell us what number they might be comfortable with. We'd be happy to listen. I find myself asking people that wherever I go, because it's time for us to pull together and move forward. And I'd like to find a graceful end to the COVID pandemic.
Any other old business? Any non-COVID old business? Any new business? No new business? It's old? Joanne?
So,
Good evening. I'm not going to talk about masks tonight either. So, last Thursday, parents received a notification by phone, email, and on Parent Square to notify us of a 2-hour delay due to weather. At the same time, the district's Facebook and Instagram accounts displayed that Friday would be a snow day. Following the confusion that this created, the district removed the post and sent a message clarifying the delay, along with the statement, "There is a post on Facebook and Instagram that was not posted by the district." Unless I'm mistaken, at no point in time was anything posted on the district's main webpage. I mean, who manages the district's social media accounts if not the district, and why is this the way in which we're organized? I've stated before to Mr. Zachary and numerous times to Mr. Dolan, I'm sure you're very tired of hearing it from me, we need to hire a communication officer in central office to manage the district's communications efforts. This is common at a lot of other districts and places. I know I've seen times when information on a building's website will contradict information on the district's main website. I've also received numerous poorly phrased, misspelled, or clearly rushed communications from various staff at our schools. This is not the way for an academic institution to carry itself. Having a central point of contact to disperse information will reduce inaccuracy and improve our ability to effectively know what is going on. Additionally, the district's current solution seems to be to add the communications responsibilities to someone or a number of people's already full plates in central office and at our buildings. When you do this, you always see a reduction in that person's ability to attend to all of their other primary responsibilities. I had a professor once tell me, you can't do more with less. You can do less with less. You can do more with more. When you have someone try to juggle these responsibilities, at a certain point, something's going to drop. So what important juggled balls, what wasted funding, what lost student opportunities are getting dropped? I'd like to know what steps the district will be taking to ensure that district-wide communications are improved.
I'll start out by saying the miscommunication on the snow day was my failure to report to the folks I was supposed to report, so I apologize for that. We are currently now engaged in with a company, and we're going to be revamping our website, and which is going to lead us to, revamping our communications. Because, I dropped the ball on that one, and no excuses. It's just I dropped the ball. But like I said, we are systematically looking at everything, but we are, I just got the email the other day about the meeting with the company that's putting together the new website, so there's going to be, hopefully, it'll all be revamped. I do not, I don't think we're a big enough operation to warrant a chief communication officer, so we're going to start with the website, and we're going to move from there.
Thanks.
But Josh, I mean, Mr. Dolan is taking the heat for the snow day. Most of the time, it's not Mr. Dolan's fault, but it has to get better. Whether it's having somebody doing it as their full-time job, whatever it is, it's got to get better. So we agree with you. We had this discussion actually previously upstairs. We talked about it. So hopefully the procedures in place get better and the communications get better.
Sure, this is a good start, but I don't want that to be a Band-Aid. I don't think that's going to help if it's just a temporary thing and we're not looking forward as to what can we do to continuously improve this.
We're looking into it, and we'll do whatever we can to get it there. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, but most of the time it's not you. Friday was you.
Hello and good evening to Mr. Dolan, the board members, and members of the community. I'd like to start with a compliment for the school counselor at JFK, Ms. Haran. She has been a great resource, caring, and communicative. Adding staff to address the mental health of our kids during a pandemic is wonderful and should be optimized so all of our students can freely access such a great resource. I also wanted to speak today just to provide brief, consistent, and clear counterpoint to some things that we're often hearing at these meetings. I wasn't going to talk too much about masks, but I just want to address it really quick, that they keep our children and each other safe. Worn correctly and consistently, they've been shown to reduce transmission of disease. We are watching science develop in real time, and that is disconcerting, I get it. But unless you are an expert in infectious disease or a research in viral transmission, we really can't make mask optional at this point an option. It is not an option for an informed and proactive school. Masks do little to protect you when others around you are unmasked and ill, even if asymptomatic. We have to continue to err on the side of child safety and protect the health of our students and our community to the best of our ability until the real experts in infectious disease tell us otherwise. We're all over this pandemic, I get it, but the experts in science, which is ever evolving, tell us that we're not out of the woods yet. I would also like to comment on the mascot of our school district, taking it to a completely different direction. I realize that the Redmond is a great source of pride to the community and has been an institution for decades. However, know better, do better, right? So there is now no doubt among official Native American organizations that terms such as Redmond are considered offensive and are no longer acceptable as mascots. If you want to discuss why that is, I'd be happy to arrange a meeting with some individuals from one of these organizations, but the reality is that we're at a crossroads. Whether by force, by reduction of funding, or by bad press, the mascot will need to be changed in the next 5 to 10 years. I also take exception to the middle of the night removal of the chief's image from the high school. Let's own this, forge a new way forward. We can create it, we can build it. We have this amazing opportunity to be part of East Islip history as we shift course. This is not a waste of energy, as someone else said. This is literally our first impression, the core of our schools, our students, and how they are viewed by the outside world, by their future employers, and the future educators we hope to attract. This doesn't mean that we aren't proud of the history of our sports or community accomplishments in the past. We can still be proud, but pride that impedes progress is called hubris. We can be proud and move forward in a new direction, and I can't wait to be a part of that. I would finally like to remind the board that next month is Black History Month, and I would like to know how we are setting the expectation for the staff and educators to make the time to celebrate some of the amazing Black individuals who have sculpted the history of this country. I would also like to just...
Yeah, ma'am, you can finish.
Okay. Just something that has come up regarding diversity education is that it aims to shame anyone, but there is no shame in learning about other cultures unless you feel ashamed or personally responsible for something. I believe that there is room for all cultures, races, genders, and sexualities to be fully taught and celebrated in our schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening to the Board of Education and the administrators for being here tonight and allowing me to speak. Especially thank you to Mr. Karpluk as the voice of reason. Not going into mass today, but I just wanted to, in response, a virus is 1 micron. The hole in a mask is 80 microns. Okay, so in New York State, there is currently a couple of different bills being proposed that would affect the school district. One is Assembly Bill A08378, which would mandate all children to be vaccinated with a COVID vaccine in order to attend school. Then there's also Bill S3041. It grants schools and other agencies the ability to administer immunizations without parental consent at age 14. There is Bill S44, relates to the publication of immunization information, requires schools to provide immunization information to the Commissioner of Health, and requires the Department of Health to make immunization information, including rates and so forth. The FDA-approved Pfizer's Comirnaty vaccine, which is licensed and FDA approved, is actually not the vaccine that is being used in the US right now. So what vaccine are they giving these children? It must still be the emergency use authorization. There are many, hold it back. Informed consent is not being given to the public of all the possible adverse reactions, as data inserts are left intentionally blank. We truly don't know the mRNA COVID vaccine side effects and long-term safety data. In fact, Pfizer doesn't want to give the FDA the full safety data for another 75 years. There are many doctors and scientists being censored on the internet who are whistleblowers against these vaccines. Dr. Robert Malone is one of the latest censored. Dr. Robert Malone is the creator of the mRNA vaccine technology. He's both a doctor and a scientist. This is his statement. I stand by this statement with a career dedicated to vaccine research and development. I'm vaccinated for COVID, and I'm generally pro-vaccination. I have devoted my entire career to developing safe and effective ways to prevent and treat infectious diseases. Before you inject your child a decision that is irreversible, I wanted to let you know the scientific facts about this genetic vaccine, which is based on the mRNA vaccine technology I created. There are 3 issues parents need to understand. The first is that a viral gene will be injected into your children's cells. This gene forces your child's body to make toxic spike proteins. These proteins often cause permanent damage in children's critical organs, including their brain and nervous system, their heart and blood vessels, including blood clots, their reproductive system. This vaccine can trigger fundamental changes to their immune system. The most alarming point about this is that once these damages have occurred, they are irreparable. You can't fix the lesions within the brain. You can't repair heart tissue scarring. You can't repair a genetically reset immune system. And this vaccine can cause reproductive damage that can affect future generations of your family. The second thing you need to know is about the fact that this novel technology has not been adequately tested. We need at least 5 years of testing and research before we can really understand the risk. Harms and risks from new medicines often become revealed many years later. Ask yourself if you want your own child to be part of the most radical medical experiment in human history. One final point, the reason they're giving you to vaccinate your child is a lie. Your children represent no danger to their parents or grandparents. It's actually the opposite. Their immunity after getting COVID is critical to save your family, if not the world, from this disease. In summary, there is no benefit for your child or your family to be vaccinating your children against the small risk of the virus, given the known health risk of the vaccine that as a parent, you and your children may have to live with for the rest of their lives. The risk and benefit analysis is not even close. Now that I have just given public informed consent, I wanted to address another huge elephant in the room.
Ma'am, can you start to wrap it up, though? We're at 5 minutes, and we still have a
I'm
bunch of
almost
people that have to speak. Thank you.
There's only one other person speaking tonight, too. We'll be quick. According to the research that our team, East Islip Parents for Choice, have uncovered, that there will be at least 300 children that will be homeschooled if this vaccine mandate is approved by our legislative body. These numbers come directly from parents who filled out our online survey a few months ago. If a child is homeschooled, the school district will lose about $13,000 per child from state funding. This equates to $3.8 million in reduced funding at 300 students. In actuality, that number may be much higher, as we estimate anywhere from 10 to 30% of the student body will be homeschooled. At 30%, we can expect a $13 million loss to the district. I'm asking the board members tonight if they are preparing for this reduced funding. It is imperative that the public know, whether they choose to get their children vaccinated or not, that their children's education will be affected. I need the public to understand the seriousness of this. It's obvious the first things that will be cut will be extracurricular activities, clubs, groups, sports, music, and art. So my question for you tonight is what programs would have to be cut and how many teachers would lose their jobs when this bill is passed?
I mean, we can't speak as to hypotheticals. I mean, I looked at the survey. I know some of the people in the survey who were grandparents who said they were going to remove their kids. So I don't know how accurate that number is, but it will be high. There's no doubt about it. But as far as the hypothetical, how many people lose their jobs, what state funding is going to be in a year or two, that we don't know, and we'll just have to tackle it.
Of course.
But we have put ourselves in a good position the last few years to address it.
It would definitely be millions of dollars without a doubt. And that's going to affect everybody. So I just want that to be, known for the public because that's important for everyone.
But I don't anticipate any cut in any programs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This is the last one.
Good evening. First, I just want to thank all of you that you've done to help keep East Islip schools open and help children receive the in-person education that they deserve. There have been many schools who've decided to go remote, so we are extremely pleased that EI is not one of them. Fortunately, we are seeing that the children are faring very well with this illness. However, it does seem to be more contagious. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, however, is the dialogue that is going on in the schools from the staff to the students from K through 12. This is an accumulation of comments made to students since returning from Christmas break based on parents with kids through the district regarding COVID. So I'm speaking on behalf of many parents who couldn't be here. Once again, here are the examples given to me. Wear your masks correctly or you're all going to get COVID. You should thank me because I'm keeping you from getting COVID. So keep the mask above your nose, stay away from your friends, don't touch others. Adults are saying don't come near me if you're going to get me sick. You guys are full of germs. If you don't pull your mask, you're going to have COVID by the next week. You should have been tested before you came back to school. Your parents should get you vaccinated. If they don't, they're irresponsible. Again, this is what parents are hearing from their children over the past 2 weeks. And this is what children have taken away from their experiences in school the past few weeks. There have been increased testing, so obviously numbers are going to be up. However, this variant does seem to be more mild, more contagious. Home tests aren't accurate as they are now being accepted as a true positive or true negative, which has never been the case. People are hearing vaccinated people don't spread the virus, get your booster for more protection, but we know that's not true. But all these uncertainties and contradictions out there are making people attack one another as adults. And our children are suffering at the hands of the adults who are supposed to care for them and put them first. Personal anxieties of staff should never dictate nor compromise the classroom environment. Children don't deserve to be treated like they are walking germs. Enough is enough. People have decided that children are little walking diseases, so keep them in their seats and apart from each other. I'm always a big advocate on mental health, and going on 3 years, this is not healthy for our children mentally, and it needs to change. If adults are scared, they should be the ones to stay home and not project fears onto other children. Another issue, quickly, is discrimination of protocol, making different isolation for vax versus unvax. School trips where only the vax are allowed to go. Children should not be discriminated against because of their vaccine status. And another issue is the temperatures in all the buildings. And again, this is coming from parents of students K through 12, keeping windows open and heaters blowing cold air when the temperatures outside have been below freezing. Some parents have said their kids are freezing all day. I can speak on behalf of my daughter in the high school. She comes home literally, wraps herself with a blanket as soon as she walks in just to get the chill out from the school being so cold. I am wrapping this up. I hate hearing children are resilient. Children can adapt when they are told by a trusted adult what to do. People say that masks are no big deal. All the stuff kids are adjusting fine. The big deal is life. Our kids should be living it, not avoiding a virus that is statistically zero risk to them. So we need to stop treating kids like none of their formative experiences matter. Can I just say one more thing? Jessica Champy couldn't be here today, so I just wanted to read something that she had wrote on Facebook that I think all parents can resonate with.
Okay.
Okay, so this is from Jessica Champy. She has 3 kids in the district. She is a kindergarten teacher of 21 years. And she had said, and I think this just resonates with all of us, hopefully, and all the teachers, hopefully. So she said, I know that the return to school is causing a lot of anxiety for people, parents, teachers, and children alike. If you work in a school, please remember you are dealing with someone else's children. They are not a walking virus, they are a child. I'm sure most of us had no problem celebrating the holidays and the new year. I'm sure most of us had no problem shopping for what we needed, perhaps going on a trip, skiing to a resort. Remember that when you're dealing with someone else's child today. These kids have been thrust into a world where adults in school are continually reminding some in a not so nice way, them to pull their mask up, keep their distance from their friends, not to touch their face, and to constantly wash and sanitize their hands. It's not normal. It is not a new normal. As a teacher, I show my students grace. I hope we can all do the same today. If you don't feel safe, stay home and don't take it out on others. So I just hope that, teachers and staff are just taking all this into consideration, and maybe something can go out just reminding the staff that kids are not just walking little germs. And
I knew you were going to read that because I read it. I think I liked it.
Yeah.
So Jessica did a great job.
yeah, she did. And also to the public, I just wanted to say, reach out to the local electives, Steve Malone, reach out to him, try to get on with what Blakeman's doing, and thank you.
Yeah, just to go on top of that too, I think our teachers are doing an excellent job here from everything I see and hear. It's very difficult. It's been tough, 2.5 years for them too, just like the kids. So I think they've done a great job getting through this, and they put a lot more work into this. Now they're IT professionals and they're education professionals and health professionals, and I think they've done an outstanding job.
I think there are definitely some that are scared, though. And,
I think everybody's scared.
Maybe not so much the teachers. I think it's a lot of the aides that the kids are hearing this from. So maybe they can be reminded to just be more, just, these kids don't have to be reminded constantly that, stay away, do this, do that. I mean, it's 3 years. I think they know by now.
Okay.
It's just, not good for their mental health, and I'm always a big advocate for that, so
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, and Mrs. B, you do a good job. And but I would say this, if a child, because I'll just speak from my own experience as a teacher and even as an building administrator, there are times, because I've been in the buildings pretty much every day since we've been back. I think it's important. They're not always thrilled to see me, and sometimes I will sneak in the back door and just walk around, and I don't need, because I have a tremendous amount of confidence. I've said this, there's not a building in this school, in this district, I wouldn't want my kids to go to. But we're human, and mistakes can happen. And I know I could give you, I'm not going to do it tonight, but I could give you a long list of stories where I said things to children, because that's one of the hardest things about being an educator, working with other people's kids. You want to get to know them, but you don't always know them. And I'll use my own 3 kids as an example. My oldest one, my middle guy, and my youngest are very different, okay? And if I talk to the youngest one the way I talk to the middle one needs to be spoken to, he doesn't hear a word I say. And so now you're in a building with several hundred kids, and I can remember as a teacher saying things that I thought were absolutely spot on. Dr. Bells needs to hear it. She just did something, and I want to try to correct it, or I want to encourage her. What I say to Dr. Bells might not work for Mr. Manzo or Mr. Harrison. And, I'm not even going to call them mistakes, but if a child comes home and is upset, that's why we have guidance counselors, administrators, we've added mental health people. Contact the building and let's see if we can't fix it. I had a great conversation with a father the other day who was, he wasn't happy about something, and I said, has your son spoken to that adult? And the father was livid, and he said, no, I just want to get it. And I said, okay, you got it off your chest. Child went in the next day, went into the teacher and said something, and, that's how we learn. So I am very, very proud of what goes on here, but we're not perfect. We never will be, like I said before, we'll become excellent if we chase perfection. But if a child comes home, and I could probably sit here and give examples of, like I said, if my mother didn't yell at me, I didn't think she loved me. But she didn't have to yell at my two brothers the way she had to yell at me, just because of the way I was. So there's, every day in schools, there are adults trying to help kids work their way through. And if somebody said it the wrong way, if I thought there was somebody here that was purposely saying things to hurt children, we would have a huge problem. But, the key is if a child comes home unhappy, we need to reach out. That's why we have building administrators, get to the bottom of it. That's why we have guidance counselors. That's why we have social workers and psychologists. And oftentimes when a child says to a teacher, when you said that, I got upset, the teacher has a chance to look at the child and say, I didn't mean to upset you. I was trying to get you to do something, or we were trying to, get somewhere. And that's what, that's a big part of education. So don't be shy about calling the building. And
This is actually not even, from me. This is an accumulation of, how all of us parents speak, that their children have experience, and whether or not those words were reiterated the correct way, this is just what the kids have taken home with that. This is their experience that they have had over the past 2 weeks. And, I know you walk around the buildings and stuff, but those things aren't going to be said, obviously, if you're there. So I think sometimes,
surprised.
I did work in the school years ago, and I worked in the cafeteria, and I didn't really care for it because some of the aides are a little bit harsh on the students. So I think, sometimes the aides can be a little careless with their words. And I have all the examples here, and so many parents have asked me to address it tonight. So, I just think that they need to be mindful, because these kids aren't, walking little germs. They're human beings, and, it's just enough is enough. Let's just treat them like children and people, and, not say that you're going to get COVID, and, they hear about this enough. They shouldn't have to hear about it in school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? That's it? Okay. The next Board of Education regular business meeting. Oh, Charlie. Go ahead, Charlie. By all means.
Charles Kalinowski. How you doing, everybody? My two sons attend the high school, and my daughter attends St. Mary's. And I was helping to study last night ancient Egypt, and I took a picture of this because it kind of struck a chord in my mind. Hatshepsut was a builder from the time she sat at her father's side, gazing at the pyramids of Giza, or visiting the temple complex at Karnak. She understood the importance of building monuments and temples to the gods. For the ancient Egyptians, life was a preparation for death, leading to eternal life in heaven. However, the Egyptians did not want to be forgotten on earth. They left grand monuments behind so they would be remembered forever. I thought that was pretty cool. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody.
Thank you, Charlie. All right, and whoever did the sound tonight, thank you. It was much better and professional, so thank you, sir, for the sound. I don't know what you do on February 10th, but you're invited back. The next Board of Education regular business meeting will be held on Thursday, February 10th, 2022 at 8 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.